Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great time. I hope that it's been a fantastic weekend. I hope your weekend has been at the level of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because we saw a complete domination last night in the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, just to kind of gloss over and just fun on Twitter and stuff like that. So, Bucs won the Super Bowl, I think 31-9, and it was actually, believe it or not, worse than that. It was you should just hang that defensive performance in the Louvre. I mean, it was beautiful, because what they did has not been done to Patrick Mahomes since he's been in the NFL. So, welcome to the POMcast. I'm the host, Stephen Willis, as you can see below. Basically, today we're going to wing it a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Devontae Shuler and his win over Auburn and what that means going forward, especially with 2 games versus Missouri on the schedule. So there's a chance to jump up significantly. But 500 league slate is definitely on the table, which is a good thing. But first, you can follow us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. Catch us on YouTube at positivelyolemiss. Hit the bell for notifications. You'll know when we're streaming and you'll know when we go live. Today I need to edit some titles because I forgot to do that, so that's the reason it popped up the way it did. So I'll get those edited real quick for you after we do this. And also you can catch us on Twitch at positivelyolemiss, all one word. And basically we've been going back and forth by doing events and regular live streams. It's kind of affecting our naming convention and how it looks and how we do it. And the event does not have the basic gravitas that just a regular live stream has. And we also sent out a poll over the weekend over length of podcast. Thank you for participating in that. So we know basically the extra videos we do, how long they need to be. So thank you very much for that. Now, Ole Miss defeated Auburn, I think, by 2 points over the weekend. Y'all have all seen the score. Y'all all know what's happening. But moving forward, what this means is a chance at a plus 500 record in the league, which a few weeks ago did not look possible. If they get a win over Missouri, a chance to really inflate their net score. I don't know what their net is at the moment, but basically what we're saying is there's a chance because South Carolina, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and I think one more that should be winnable is on the schedule with two games against Missouri. So there's 6 left. So if you lose both the games against Missouri and win the other 4, you still are looking at a +1 in the SEC record column, which is, fantastic, really. With the SEC tournament, a chance to play yourself in to some kind of a tournament. Right now, they probably look like an NIT team, but there's a chance they could play their way forward into at least the playing games. I guess it doesn't really matter, the playing games, because all the games are going to happen in Indiana this year. I think in Indianapolis. So, I don't know what it's called now, but it was called Conseco Fieldhouse, and then Butler's Gym, and, stuff like that, you can just basically play all your regions there. So if you live in that area, it looks like it's going to be quite the setup to watch games. But if you don't, it's going to be about the same because the courts are specially made, and you can't really tell the home location because of the courts and all that. So used to back, I know this is going to date me a little bit, but I go back to Tyus Edney against Arkansas hitting the game-winning shot that you probably see on March Madness stuff back when it was a CBS thing. It was on Boise State's court, and that was back when it was in vogue to have these loud courts. So half the three-point area was orange, half of it was blue. The lane was either wood or white. I can't remember which one, but around the end. But it was really loud. And those have gone away, so you kind of lose a little bit, believe it or not. A little bit of nostalgia kicks in to see actual courts in the NCAA tournament instead of these specially made courts where everything looks alike and is all antiseptic. But that's one thing that I miss. If you take away even from the analytics and everything that's killed basketball, take those out of the equation and just go in with the courts, I would still miss that era because of things like that. It made it feel more like a tournament, and you're hosting it at locations instead of a tournament all being held in one location. Everything now feels very antiseptic. Now, I'm not saying I don't love the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, because I do. It's fantastic. But back in the day, it felt more like a community event as opposed to a top-down event, if that makes sense. So, but you used to have them all the time in Memphis, New Orleans. I think there was even NCAA tournaments played in Birmingham. I know there have been SEC tournaments there. Atlanta always has them. So there's been stuff around. It was nice to be able to spread the wealth, but now that it basically requires an NBA arena just to host, it eliminates the pavilion from hosting a game. And the pavilion is one of the top 10 arenas in the country. But its attendance is going to hold it back from hosting a game. But Thompson Bowling, at 25,000 or some whatever ludicrous amount it is, they're going to be able to host a game, and they might not be as good as the pavilion. But, in Auburn, Alabama, those two gyms, are missing out on NCAA hosting. And now that the flag has changed and that has become an option, Ole Miss should go hard to try and host an event. It's going to be hard with the NBA arena right up the road in Memphis. But at the end of the day, what could happen is the play-in games get moved out of Dayton. Maybe Oxford can grab a play-in game, play-in weekend. The pavilion is good enough to try and host one of those, and will kind of provide a way forward for that. So it's once we all get back to normal and take our vaccines and do whatever we're supposed to do. Well, I say normal, but it was normal. And everybody gets back in the stadiums and can kind of move forward. It is imperative on Mississippi and Ole Miss, and even Mississippi State, that Mississippi goes forward with trying to get a bowl game and trying to host an NCAA game. It's not something that they've been able to do for like 20 years, but it's something they can do now. It's something they can, put their mind around and get it done, because there's no artificial thing holding them back when it comes to that. And let's see, I think we are going to take a break. And When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl and a little bit about Week 1 coming up, since we've been live streaming. So thank y'all very much. But stick around and we'll be back with more good stuff.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. The POMcast Monday, I think it is February 8th. Next week is President's Day, and which is, as you know, a combination of Washington and Lincoln's birthday. So thank you for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl now. Basically, the Buccaneers won 31-9. It honestly wasn't as close as the score. It was probably one of the best defensive performances I have seen in a Super Bowl. By the end of the night, Patrick Mahomes was playing backyard football and just throwing balls up for grabs, trying to make any play he can, because he was just seeing ghosts. And basically it looked like a cloud coverage over the top, sometimes up towards a 4-deep zone, or at least would give the look of that, to where everything is kept in front and no big plays are going to happen. And doing that, they would blitz things, they would come in certain angles, they would do what they need to do to where the read wasn't as straightforward as it should have been. Because if you looked at what Tampa Bay was doing, like strictly coverage-wise, it's a coverage that Patrick Mahomes and especially Travis Kelce should have eaten up. Eventually they could have moved to that and just ate up the defense. But there was enough players. It might be the same players that were covering the same zones or everything, but they would mix up a little bit who's doing what. And that was just enough to throw off the read of Patrick Mahomes. And the defensive line just went to work. Kansas City was without both tackles. That was readily apparent. Jason Pierre-Paul was in the backfield all night. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes started seeing literal ghosts in there. He was running from shadows. He was bailing way before he needed to, just because he was just anticipating contact. And as you know, if you want to affect any quarterback, hit him. And if you hit him, it'll move forward, do what needs to be done. And it'll affect their performance. And by the end of the game, they were just shot. They tried to throw it to Tyreek Hill. The taunting from Anton Winfield with the deuces thing, that was a direct result of his 250-yard game early this season in Tampa. But a lot of people are shocked at what happened and what went on, or basically. But you need to keep this in mind. Over about 7 quarters, other than the first quarter of the game earlier this year when Kansas City jumped out to a 17-0 lead, Tampa Bay has like a 55-17 advantage of scoring. This Super Bowl was not a fluke. This is 7 quarters. I mean, other than Tyreek Hill going crazy in the first quarter of the first game, which he did go crazy, and props to him. But if you take into account the last 7 quarters of the game, I mean, and this is a whole Super Bowl. 4 quarters went by where they did not give up a touchdown. I don't want to hear anybody talking about how it's rigged or the officials gave it to them. The Chiefs did not score a touchdown the whole night. Patrick Mahomes got worked. It was an ass whooping. There's no other way to put it. It was an ass whooping. And doing that is a lot of, good thoughts with Tampa Bay. And, Tom Brady won the MVP, and Rob Gronkowski is going to Disney World with him. The true MVP of that game was the Tampa Bay defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was the Tampa Bay defense that set the tone of that game, and they just kept it throughout the game. And people need to be basically aware of that. And they don't need to get lost in the minutia of Tom Brady and Gronkowski and all of that. But, I mean, it was an ass whooping. It was bad. I mean, I did not expect the Chiefs to just get worked like that. I know a bunch of people that did not expect the Chiefs to get worked like that, but the Chiefs did, in fact, get worked like that. And, 15-1 in the regular season, what it reminded me of a little bit? And it's a little bit different quarterbacks, different eras, I get that. But if you're old enough, it reminded me of that first Dallas Buffalo Super Bowl, the Leon Don Beebe game, where Dallas, won 52-20 or whatever it was. Frank Reich was the quarterback because Jim Kelly was hurt. I think it was that game. But it just reminded me, because the expectations going into it just did not match what actually happened. And, I mean, it was bad. It was bad, and it was deserved. Yeah, I mean, that game was completely deserved for Tampa Bay. They just completely whooped the ass of the other team. And I don't really want to use words like soft, but Tampa Bay was much more physical in that game. Much more at the point of attack. It kind of looked, and I know this is going to be heresy for some, but it looked like an air raid team trying to stop a physical run team. You just don't see it every day because it's not really in the cards. So we're going to take another quick break. Thank you very much for joining us. And when we come back, we're going to talk about plans for week 2 and beyond of the POMcast.
Now, we're going to do things a little different.
So stick
We're
around.
going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. I'm putting my headphones down basically just because I need it to be able to hear what's going on. But I want to look as good as I can for you guys because that means a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, welcome to week 2 of the POMcast. Basically, we had a hugely successful first week of the POMcast. Good grief. It was beyond even what I expected. And so thank you very much for that. And I think on signing day, we probably, hit 200 or 300 views on every platform. And I have not looked at the audio numbers as well, but I mean, we were upwards of 10,000 views, and that was crazy. And we're going to keep trying to do that. We're going to keep trying to basically, I don't want to say educate you, but because that's not what we're doing. But we want to provide solid knowledge of what's going on. We're going to basically, on the recruiting videos that we have been doing, we are going to release those as little 3-minute videos individually so you can watch them at your leisure. Anatomy of a touchdown is coming back. We're going to work with the third touchdown of the Vanderbilt game first. 3 for the weekend is coming back. That might be closer to the summer. We're going to get more in depth with Chris Thrasher. I expect tonight or tomorrow. It might be a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, Friday thing. But I expect him to hit twice this week. And we're going to bring in Darby McCraney to have a grasp on the 2022 recruits. We're going to update the side just so you have all the relevant information. It should be quite cool. And of course, if anybody else has something that they want to take ownership of, they are more than welcome to come in and do that. And, it could be uniforms, it could be anything. It could be the person that's the expert on the motivationals. Which, fun fact, way back when I was the video coordinator at Ole Miss, we were going over to Alabama. We had a game in Alabama that day, and we ended up losing, but it was very close at the end. It was one of Orgeron's near misses, which were pretty legendary in Oxford. But he wanted it to basically, the scene from Rocky where he says, "Cut me, Mick." He wanted that to go into the video. Video was already done. We were getting ready to leave. We were literally an hour away from getting on the bus. And somebody wanted "Cut Me, Mick." And I didn't have that movie. So we were scrambling for the next hour trying to find a video store in Oxford that has that movie, because they did have video stores back then. We were able to get it done, and we were able to put it in and get it to it. But that shows the impulse that was going on way back in the mid-2000s and the problems that we're having. But it was all over the "Cut Me, Mick" from Rocky. And yeah, so it had to go into the highlight, which screwed the whole highlight up, because every one of those back in the day, they were kind of themed. And that "Cut Me, Mick" it went in there and it just disappeared. And, we also did stuff back in the day during that period on the Jumbotron, basically making music videos of players. Me and my wife. I think my wife made "For Whom the Bell Tolls" that played on the Jumbotron pretty much that whole season. And that was, it was a lot of fun to do. But, it was hard back then to find highlights. But we pulled out of that from the Orgeron era into the Houston Nutt era, and everybody wants to give us grief for hiring Houston Nutt. And, Houston Nutt went to back-to-back Cotton Bowls when we were terrible. 2004 cuts last year, 2005, 2006, 2007. We didn't win more than 4 games. Period. And then Houston Nutt took us to back-to-back Cotton Bowls. That needs to be commended. Now, 2010 happened and 2011 happened, but that opened the door for a freeze. And that 2011 signing class that was like Dante Moncrief, Nick Brazel, I think Tobias Singleton was in that class, Cody Pruitt. It was a really strong Mississippi class that they took advantage of, and they became the baseline for the 2014 team that led the nation in scoring defense and went to the school's first Access Bowl. And then we went to an Access Bowl the year after that. So it all builds, and you might look at a freshman class and get frustrated because the record of that team is 2-10 or 3-9 or 4-8, but that does not say anything about that class. There is so much that class can do and moving forward, and it's all about developing them. It's all about system fit. Nick Brazel, I think he got thrown off the team. Tobias Singleton transferred to Jackson State, so it ended up just being Dante Moncrief, who was still in the league. So we got 1 out of 3 out of that class, but it's really Mike Wallace that kind of started it all. And went Mike Wallace, Shea Hodge, and then Dante Moncrief. But this is the era. That is the era where wide receiver basic U at Ole Miss began. And now we are 15 years in and getting still Braylon Brown and J.J. Henry and all the way through Elijah Moore, and the next group is coming. Jonathan Mingo and them are on the sides. I expect Ontario Drummond to have a big year next year. We will talk about that for sure as we get closer and into spring practice. But that's just what I'm expecting. I'm expecting Matt Corral to have a big year. I'm expecting him to actually take a jump. I expect no disaster games. Jared Ely, I expect him to have a 1,000-yard season, perhaps. And at wide receiver, I expect a team that is just explosive. Last year was Elijah Moore and a couple of dudes. Because the offense, as we explained on Boot Camp the Offense, which is on our YouTube page, by the way, if you want to go back and look at that, the offense runs through the slot receiver and the tight end. It's an inside-based offense. The outside guys are sturdy run blockers, essentially. They can make plays positive, and that's what they're trying to do, to where they can get outside guys that can do both. But the ones that do the damage are the inside guys, the tight end and the slot receiver. And that's what you saw last year with Kenny Yeboah and Elijah Moore. It's not that sorry about that. It's not that Jonathan Mingo couldn't do it. It's just that he wasn't being asked to do it. He was being asked to do the things that need to be done on the outside and in the run game, and to help Jared Ely with outside zone and things like that. Now there's a hitch game that is a product with this offense that is important for those big guys, because then you can get somebody like Jonathan Mingo out on a cornerback and just let him go, and all of a sudden the cornerback is going to get abused. So as we get into spring practice and move closer to football season, we're like I said, we're probably going to take a week off in the summer, a week or two off in the summer, but I'll have videos for you. When I say take a week off, I mean just doing it live. But the channel and everything is going to get all the videos that needs to be done. But that should be, the end of the first day of week 2. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate every bit of it. And if you have any questions or anything, hit the comments below. and we'll do our best to answer them. And also, if you have a podcast and you're looking to take it to the next level, let me know. Something we can work out. All right. Thank you very much, and tune in tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Until then, hotty toddy.